Hi everyone, happy Monday. How are we doing? I am exhausted. My weekend was not quite long enough. They never are though, are they? I mean, really, like, it just seems like you close your eyes and it is Monday morning again. And I am not a fan. Hey, Miss Kathy. Excuse me. So, how was everyone else's weekend? Did you guys have some downtime this weekend? Did you do something fun for yourself? You guys, I have been working all weekend long, and I am definitely not complaining because I have got some fun stuff prepared for you guys, and it may or may not have to do with the new beads that might come out. They might be coming out for Halloween, maybe. I'm terrible at keeping secrets, but that is all I'm gonna say is that they're awesome and I can't wait for you to see them. So you're just gonna have to just wait, but I promise you're not gonna have to wait long, you guys. So my mic is funny again. All right, let's see what we can do to try and fix that, shall we? Can you hear me now? Are things better? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, Stacia, what are you cooking? Stacia's cooking. How's the microphone, guys? Let me know. Hey, Willow. Hey, Maggie. Hey, Eve. Hi, everybody. Excuse me, guys. There's Joan and Debbie and Sylvia. Hi. I'm so glad to see you guys. Everybody, the microphone, just let me know. I'm hoping that it's fixed and it's better now. When I unplug it, for whatever reason, it acts a little silly when I go to plug it back in, and I'm not entirely sure why. So, as I was saying, my weekend went by way too fast. I don't know about you guys, but I hope that you had some time this weekend to enjoy yourself. I am going to take tomorrow to enjoy myself. I'm actually not going to enjoy myself. I'm just going to kind of rest. I'll probably stay in my pajamas and rest all day. But you know what? That's okay. Everybody needs one of those days. Tuesdays are pajama days. All right, so tonight we have a fun project, you guys. This one is, this is a easy project, keeping it really easy and light on this Monday evening. We're going to be using some of those mixed tapes and roller skates natural shell beads. So those of you who got the past Magical Mystery Bead Box, you know exactly which beads I'm talking about. So these were some specialty beads that were included in that box. If you did not get that box and you saw these beads and you wanted them, they are now available over on the Jessie James Beads website. So let me just kind of hold them up for you so that you can see what they look like. One of them, well, you get 3 of these little guys with the cool like retro vibes on them, and then you get 2 of these little mixtapes. These are natural shell beads that are specialty beads. These are created and then made especially for Jessie James beads. Like, these are custom. That's the word I was looking for. These are custom beads, and they are natural shell, right? But they have that really cool, fun print on them. So it's one of those items that Jessie James Beads is very, very proud of, and wanted to share those with you guys. So like I said, now they are available over on the website. Even if you didn't get the Magical Mystery Bead Box, you can grab those beads, or if you want, you can still grab the Magical Mystery Bead Box that contained those beads. There are just a couple, like seriously, just a very small amount left on the website. So if you want one of those, you might want to grab that now. It's not going to be there for very long. Hey, Kay. Hey, Fern. Jessica, it's so good to see everybody tonight. So before we get started with tonight's project and our fun little mixtape beads, and I forgot to mention, we're also using a black and white mix from Designed by Me. That mix, I'll show it to you. It's dumped out in a bowl. I'll show you in just a couple of minutes. But I do want to do the housekeeping as always, and to let you guys know that the North Pole, Destination North Pole, pre-sale is going on right now, but you only have until Friday for the pre-sale, meaning you can only save $10 on the cost of Destination North Pole until Friday. After Friday, no more $10 off. So if you want to go ahead and get that deal, I would do that now. Also, it is worth mentioning that the payment plan option for that is going to end at the end of the month. So if you want to get a spot at Destination North Pole with us taking classes during the holiday season, then I suggest signing up for that right now. Do not wait. That $10, like, I don't know about you guys, but $10 of a discount, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And then having the payment plan option is also really perfect for those of you who don't want to spend like the lump sum. And so the way the payment plan is going to work is it will work sort of the same way that your Magical Mystery Bead Box works, in that you will have an amount this month, and then an amount the next month, and then the next month, right? So that you don't have to pay for it all at once, which is really, really awesome. And I feel like kind of opens it up to a lot more people being able to come and hang out and have a good time with us. Steph says, going to the North Pole with you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's going to be so much fun. I'm telling you. So definitely take advantage. If you want the payment plan, that's only good until the end of the month. And if you want your $10 off, you can only get that until Friday. So don't miss out. You will kick yourself, because I'm telling you, that $10, that's a lot of money. $10 is a lot. Particularly when we're talking about the holidays, right? Every penny counts. Okay, so for tonight's project, we're putting together an easy necklace. I thought it would be cool to just kind of practice our wrapped loops, right? You guys, for whatever reason, like to see me do wrapped loops, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put together a kind of a charm necklace, which this is a design that you're going to be able to take and kind of incorporate in a lot of different ways in your own designs. You can change it up. You don't have to use chain. You can use faux suede lace. You can use whatever you want to for the length portion of your necklace. We're going to be using some of this really cool lightweight black acrylic chain in the center. This is where all of our charms are going to hang, including those really cool mixtape natural shell beads. We're going to have one of those as like the center of our little charm section. However, you can take this exact same technique and turn it into a charm bracelet if you want to. Really, most important part of this design is that we are just going to practice our wrapped loops. We're talking about wrapped loops on head pins, and we're also going to talk about making your own knotted head pin. And I actually made a kind of a quick change in the middle of getting ready for this. I was going to do all of these on head pins, and then I ended up, I've got some blisters on the palms of my hands, and so I decided that I'm going to do all of these with the 22 gauge wire and the knotted head pin instead. It's just a little bit softer than the eye pins that I have, but this is going to work either way. So if you're interested in seeing the knotted head pin, tonight is your night. I'm going to show it to you 3 times. We're going to do a bunch of wrapped loops, and we're going to put together a really easy but fun necklace that you can turn into a million different things, right? Always a good time. So without further ado, let's get down to it. Let's talk about these beads, and let's put together a fun little project here. All right, so first and foremost, I want to show you guys these natural shell beads that are special to Jesse James beads, right? These are exclusive. You're not going to find these anywhere else. These are exclusive to Jesse James beads. Jessica says, I love your necklace. Thank you. So it was just a Jesse James bead strand with a little chain reaction. It's one of my favorites. I'll show it to you guys again at the end. All right, so in the little mix, you're going to get 3 of the round ones and 2 of the little tapes. So you've got enough to do 2 pairs of earrings here if you wanted to, and then a extra for a pendant. I think they would look really, really super cute as earrings, but I think I'm going to just use it as the center portion of our necklace. So I'm just going to use the one, but then the other you could definitely use as the center part of a bracelet as well, which would be really, really cool. So love that. And again, you can grab these all by themselves over on the Jesse James Beads website, or you can buy the entire magical mystery box that these came in. Okay. All right. As far as the other beads are concerned, I'm using this Design by Me mix. It's got a lot of really beautiful black here. There is some black, there is some metal, there are some pops of hematite and silver, and then some little splatters of like the gold color. It looks like paint splashes on these. There are some little bronze rondelles. This is just a really elegant mix. And we are going to mix this up. One of the reasons that I chose this mix in particular is because for whatever reason, the mixtapes and the stars just really go together for me. I don't know why, but I just really think that they look really cute together. I wish I had a whole bunch of stars. I love star beads. Those are really, really cool. So we're going to use this. This Design by Me mix is available, of course, on Jesse James Beads website, but in select Walmart stores, you can also grab this mix. Okay. All right. So let's get started with our project. Like I said, this is going to be an easy one, but if you need to practice your wrapped loops, this is going to be a great project for you. Okay, there's not a whole lot of hard stuff going on. I'm going to show you how to make your own knotted head pin. I'm going to show you how to make a loop without a knotted head pin. We're also going to be using some black jump rings, guys. These are artistic wire jump rings in black, and they are also available over on the Jesse James Beads website. So if you need black jump rings for anything, you never know when you're going to need a colored jump ring. I would grab a pack of these. You get a bunch in the pack, just so you know. I think they are 8mm. I'm not really entirely sure. And then, of course, we're using a short section of this black acrylic chain. You guys, the acrylic chain comes in a lot of different colors. And part of the reason that I love this so much is because it is so lightweight. It is super, super shiny, so it looks expensive, but it is super lightweight, meaning like you don't even feel like you have any jewelry on when you use it. So we're going to use a short little section of this in the center of our necklace. And then for the length of our necklace, we're going to be using this stamped hematite chain. This is from Beadalon, and it is over on the Jesse James Beads website under the chain section, or under the Beadalon section, I believe. But this is just a really kind of classy chain. I love the stamp on the links of this chain, and I am a huge, huge fan of this kind of hematite color. I wish that I had more things in this color, particularly this time of year. I like the darker metals when we start getting into fall and winter, so I feel like that was a really cool mix. Plus, it looks really good with the beads. Okay. As far as the chain section, this middle section, you really do want to do this with chain or with jump rings. But as far as the length is concerned, you can change that up. If you don't want to use a different kind of chain for the length of your necklace, you can do this with any kind of cord, or you could use fairy silk as well. So there are a lot of different options when it comes to this little project that we're going to put together. Okay. All right. So I have myself a pile of my knotted head pins all ready to go, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to show you how to do this, because I know you guys like to see this one in action. So I got 3 pieces of my 22 gauge wire, and we're going to create our knotted head pins. So for those of you who have never seen me do the knotted head pin before, I use 22 gauge wire for this. You can do this with 20 gauge wire, but it does make a chunkier knot. Just want to keep that in mind. You also can do this with 24 gauge wire, and it gives you a little bit smaller of a knot, okay? But 22 is my gauge of choice, and you just need sections that are about 4 inches long. You could probably get away with about 3.5 inches if you wanted to be careful and save your wire. I'm using German style wire for this. I find that it is much easier to use than the artistic wire, just because the artistic wire is very, very soft, and sometimes it doesn't want to make a really nice knot. But you do you, right? You use whatever works for you. These are just my recommendations and what works for me. Okay, so to make a knotted head pin, you need your round nose pliers and that cut little section of your 22 gauge wire. Hi, Linda, how are you? And we're going to grab that wire. I saw Angie here too, and I forgot to say hi. So hi, Angie. Hi to everybody. I don't want to leave anybody out. Hi to all of you. I love you, and I'm so glad you're here. All right, so I am grabbing the tail end of that 22 gauge wire right at the tip of the wire and at the tip of the round nose pliers. Okay, you definitely don't want to go down this direction, because the further back you go on the pliers, the bigger, the chunkier the knot. We don't want that. We want this to be very small and not kind of take away from our wire. So right at the tip of the wire, right at the tip of the round nose pliers, roll that wire around the very tip of the pliers and go all the way around once. And you can see, I know that I've made it once because I can see that shiny little flat section of the wire where the wire was cut. Okay, now you want to go around the pliers a second time directly underneath that first wrap around that you made. And again, you want to stop where you see that flush cut on the wire. So 2 times around to make a 2 little coil on your pliers. Okay, now holding it just like this, Before you take this wire off of the pliers, you want to bend the wire this direction, okay? That makes the wire run underneath the two coils that you just made. So when I take it off of the pliers, this is what it looks like. I feel like a lot of times people get tripped up with this because the natural inclination is to bend the wire in the direction that the wire is going, right? Which would be the other way. But that's not what you want. You want that wire to go underneath the coils that you made. So you're going to go that way, okay? Now, you're going to take the tail end of this wire and you are going to bend it around into a loop and stick the tail through those two loops that you made. Right? Makes a really weird little shape. Okay. Now, the second tool that you absolutely have to have for this is your nylon jaw pliers. You cannot do this with chain nose pliers. The reason is if you do, you're going to strip off that beautiful coating that is on the outside of your wire, or you're just going to mark it up really, really badly. So be sure that you have a pair of nylon jaw pliers to do this. You want to grab the wire so it is running between the nylon plates on these pliers, and so that the two loops that you made are right up against the nylon jaw pliers, okay? They need to be right up against there. Don't pull it out this direction like that. You want it to be right up against, okay? Now you're going to take another pair of pliers, and you can see where the tail is sticking out. You're going to grab that and pull. And you do kind of have to pull hard, you know, you gotta be strong about it. Pull. What happens is you are creating a knot, which makes a pretty little rosette, right, on the end of your wire. And because you're pulling the wire through the jaws of the nylon jaw pliers, you're also work hardening it just slightly. Okay, so now when you take it away from the pliers, you've got yourself a head pin, a knotted little head pin. And this is different from some of the other do-it-yourself head pins that I have seen in the sense that the wire is coming up from the very center of the knot instead of over to the side and kind of off-centered, okay? I'm going to show that to you 2 more times because I've got 3 more pieces of wire here, and then we're going to start making our wrapped loops on all of our beads. So again, I'm grabbing the wire right at the tip of the wire, and I'm using the very tip of my round nose pliers. I'm going to roll that wire around the very tip of the pliers once, and then I'm going to roll a second time directly underneath, okay? And then I want to stop where I see the flush cut of the wire, that little shiny spot. And then before I take this off of the tool, I want to bend the wire this direction. Okay, and you know that you're bending the wire the correct direction if you don't take it off of the tool, right? And you bend away from the pliers. So don't bend back towards your hand if you're bending away from the pliers. But it doesn't work if you take it off and then you put it back on, and you know, so you want to do it all in one singular movement there, right? Taking the tail of the wire, and I'm bending it back, and I'm going to stick it through the 2 little coils that we made, okay? Again, with the nylon jaw pliers, have to have those, okay? And then I'm going to take a pair of pliers, grab the tail end of that wire, and pull, okay? And again, we've got our little knot, and we're ready to use this as as a head pin, okay? We'll do 1 more. And then I've got a whole pile of these so we can get moving on our actual design here. I just want to be sure that you guys see this plenty of times. This is going to be a great one to go back and watch the replay if you want to really practice your knotted head pin, or if you want to practice your wrapped loops, because we're going to be doing a lot of those. All right, so I wrapped around the tip of the round nose pliers 2 times, bending the wire out this direction. Okay, taking it off of the round nose pliers, and now I'm going to take the tail end of that wire, stick it back through the 2 coils, just like so. Okay, coming in with the nylon jaw pliers to hold on to that wire, and then pull. Okay, and that's it. All right, just takes a little bit of practice, but I promise once you get that down, you're going to be using this all the time. Number 1, it's going to save you a lot of money when it comes to buying head pins. I have a whole selection of head pins, but sometimes the problem with head pins is that the head on the end is either too big or too small, meaning that if the head is too big, a lot of times the wire is really, really stiff, and that's what this one is. That's why I opted to use this today, because I've got some blisters on my fingers here, and holding my pliers is kind of uncomfortable today. So making any like strong bends with the pliers, I just wasn't feeling it today. This is some really thick wire. But if the tip on them, if the head is too small, sometimes when you're threading it onto a bead, even if it doesn't appear that the bead has a large hole, sometimes that head on your head pin is just too small and it slides right through. So being able to make your own knotted head pins is going to save you that trouble. Plus, wire comes in so many different colors, right, that you can make head pins in any color of the rainbow, which is always a handy kind of trick to have, right? Okay, so that doesn't mean you can't do this with head pins. I just kind of decided that today my fingers were not in the head pin kind of mood. So we're using our softer 22 gauge wire. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to take one of our head pins that we made here, and we are going to thread on our mixed tape bead, okay? John says, what have I been doing to get blisters? I have been using my pliers all weekend, you guys. I did 8 projects this weekend, filmed them, and just got through editing them and am waiting on them to render. So my hands are absolutely worn out. Okay, so I've thread that on, and now we're going to make a wrapped loop. And we're going to do these wrapped loops a bunch. So if you miss it the first time, you're going to be able to see this like 13 more times. That's not a joke. We really are going to do that many because we want to fill our charm section up, right? So we are grabbing the wire where it is exiting that bead, and I'm grabbing with my chain nose pliers, okay? And I'm going to bend the wire this direction. And you'll notice that when I bend the wire, I'm bending it actually over the flat surface of the pliers, so that when I take the pliers away, there's a little bit of space here between the top of the bead and the bend in the wire. That space is necessary to make our wire wraps, okay? If you're doing just a simple loop, you don't need that space, and you would just bend the wire straight over without the space there, okay? I'm going to come in with the round nose pliers because they fit perfectly in that space. And I am going to take the wire while holding the pliers still. I'm taking the wire up and over the top barrel of the round nose pliers. Now, I need to take this wire all the way over to the other side in order to make an entire loop. See, look, right? I've got to take that wire over there to close our loop up. But when this is on the pliers, the bottom barrel of the pliers is in the way, so I can't really get over there. So I need to roll the pliers, just going from this position to this position, and then now I can take the wire over, okay? I switch hands, and then I'm going to wire wrap in that space between our loop and the top of our bead, and I had enough space there for about 4 wraps. Most of the time I only have room for about 3, but we got away with 4. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, and I'm going to trim off the rest of this wire because we do not need that. Okay, now we're going to kind of build out our little charm section as we go here. Okay, so here are all of our knotted head pins. Here is our little section that we're going to hang everything from. And I'm going to go ahead and mark the center of this with our little mixed tape bead. So I'm going to take one of these black jump rings. I'm going to hold it between 2 pairs of chain nose pliers, and then I'm just going to twist to open the jump ring. Okay, you don't ever want to pull them apart. You want to twist. Okay, and then I'm going to thread on our wrapped loop. Okay, and then I want to find the middle, so I'm going to count from the outsides until I get to that center link, right? And I'm just going to hook that onto the center link and close it back. Now, marking the center is going to help so that we can kind of evenly space out all of the rest of our beads, which we're going to call charms, because I mean, they're little dangle-doos, and you guys know I love the dangles. So okay, now let's start building some of our dangles, just like I was talking about. So I'm going to start from the center and kind of build our way out. So we're going to do these 2 at a time. So the next beads that I want hanging on either side of our tape are these really cool kind of swirl. Well, it's not really I guess it is. It does kind of have a swirl shape to it. It's like it's faceted, but it has a twist. They are black beads with this really cool kind of metallic splash on them. I think that's just really cool. So we are going to put those on to our head pins, and we're just going to do some more wrapped loops. Okay. Some of these that we do are going to have beads hanging from the bottom from them as well, but just to get us started, we're going to do a couple that are just plain like this. All right, so again, grabbing the wire right where it is exiting the bead, and I'm going to bend the wire. Take the chain nose pliers away. I'm coming in with the round nose pliers. Hold those pliers still. Don't turn the pliers, just move the wire up and over the top barrel. Okay, now we got to roll those pliers out of the way so that we can go ahead and take that wire over to the other side, right? I'm going to switch hands, and then I'm going to wire wrap in that space. And you'll notice I'm using my fingers to do the wire wrapping. If it's easier for you to grab a hold of that wire with another pair of pliers and hold on to it as you twist, whichever works for you. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim off the excess. You want to be sure that you're trimming really close. Okay, you don't want to leave any sharp edges sticking out. So if you're worried, definitely run your finger across it and make sure. Okay, so there's one. We're going to do the other one that's going to go on the other side. So same thing, just drop the bead down, grabbing, bending the wire. Okay, we're going up and over. We're going to roll those pliers out of the way and take the wire over to the other side. And now I'll show you what it looks like if you want to hold your pliers to do the wrapping instead of your fingers, just like so. Okay. Now I'm going to trim off. All right, now as I said, we're going to kind of build this as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and attach both of these beads with our jump rooms. Our jump rooms? What did I just say? Jump rings. I was reading what Jane said, and yeah. Which is funny because she just said she'll teach all kinds of words. I think I just made one up. So that's what I get for reading and talking at the same time. Okay. All right, so I've opened one of the jump rings. I'm going to thread that on to our wrapped loop here. And now I'm going to take that jump ring and I'm just going to hook it to the next chain link in our section, and I'm going to close that back. Now, I want you to notice something. Notice that I didn't pick up the chain to do this, right? I left the chain laying down, and there's a reason why. Okay, let me go ahead and attach the next bead, and then I'll explain to you why it is that I didn't pick this up. Okay, so open the jump ring. I'm trying, Angie, I'm trying. All right, and now I'm going to thread that on to our next chain link and close it back. Okay, now I want to explain why it is that I keep this laid down instead of picking it up. And that's because of the way that this chain is connected, right? The way that this chain is connected, you've got one link going this direction and then the next link is going this direction, right? So here and here. So one of your jump rings is going to hook right here, right down here on the bottom. That's an easy one to attach to. But your chain link sections that are facing this direction, you have to make a decision. You either want to attach your chain links all on this outer section or on the inner section, right? On the inner part. But whichever you pick, you want to stay consistent. If not, when you pick this up and you hang it or you go to wear it, your beads are all over the place and it looks really uneven. So the best way to keep this even is to keep it laid down nice and flat so that I can very clearly see this bottom section of the link. That's where the next bead is going to go. This outer section of the link, that's where the next jump ring and bead is going to go. Okay, and so I know that they're always going to be on that outside edge of the link that's facing this direction instead of this direction. Okay, I hope that made sense. I just know that some people struggle with charm bracelets, and part of the reason that they do is because of the way that the chain is created, and chain links have to be created that way so that they link together. Okay, but it can kind of mess up your design if you're not really paying attention to those little tiny details. Okay, so next up are our stars. So I've got two little stars. We're going to put stars on either side of these guys, right? So we just want to drop those down onto our little head pin. And again, we're just going to do wrapped loops, okay? Bending the wire. And coming in with the round nose pliers to go up and over, roll out of the way and take the wire over to the other side. Now, one of the questions that I very often get about charm type jewelry, or when it just comes to dangles in general, because you guys know, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I really love dangles. The more the better. I love tons of movement in jewelry. So a lot of times I will add dangles where other people think that I should stop. But a lot of people will ask, why do you do a wrapped loop? Can you just do a simple loop? I'm not good at wrapped loops. And the answer is yes, you can do simple loops. However, keep in mind, and I'm going to show you, for those of you who are new, I'm going to show you real quick. So I wrap that one around, okay? I'm going to show you. So your wrapped loop is completely closed, right? This is called a cold connection. We don't have to solder anything. We don't have to use any heat or anything like that, but we have a closed connection, right? Without heat. It's completely seamless all the way around. Whereas with an eye pin or a simple loop, you do have a tiny, tiny little sliver of an opening there, right? And not that that's a bad thing. This is really convenient for opening and hanging things from. In fact, we're going to use a couple of these. There's nothing wrong with them. But if you're really hard on jewelry, and I tend to be, a lot of times I will go for a wrapped loop instead of one of these, just because that little spot right there, with just enough pulling, if it were to get hung on something, that little opening can open up and your charm or your bead or whatever you've got can fall off. Right? So it's not nearly as secure. It's made to be nice and sturdy, and for the most part it is. But if you're particularly hard on jewelry, I definitely recommend going for the wrapped loops. And in a bracelet or a charm situation where there is a lot of moving parts, I always go for a wrapped loop, okay? All right, so we have our stars. Our stars need to go on either side of the beads that we already have. Okay, so I'm just going to open jump ring with a twist, thread on one of our stars, and then I want, whoops, actually might be easier just to go ahead and hook the jump ring before I add the star on here. I'm trying to keep everything laying down. Oops. Okay, right there. And then add our star. Now I can kind of move this around. It doesn't have to lay flat while I'm working on this part, but every time I go to add a jump ring, I definitely want to lay this back out nice and flat so that I can get a look at where everything is. So I promise those tiny little things are going to make a difference in your design. Okay, that's the bottom right there on that one. So I'm going to go ahead, open up my jump ring, thread on, add my little star charm And I will pick it up now so that I can close the jump ring. Okay. And then I want to lay everything back out, which I know seems like a hassle, but I promise in the end, you'll be glad that you did it that way. Okay. Because now we can really see. Hi, Lavinia. How are ya? All right. So our next little bead section, I'm going to use check glass beads. Okay. So I'm going to use these check glass rounds. They look to be about 8 millimeters. And then I want to do a little dangle. So we're going to use our eye pins on these guys, which you can make your own loops if you want to. But I'm going for easy. And then on the bottom section here, I want to use one of our little bronze rondelles. So I've got one for each. And then these little miracle beads, I love them so, so much. This mix is the first time that I had ever seen black miracle beads. And they're really not black. They're kind of like a really deep, deep, dark kind of charcoal color. But that's the first time I've ever seen a miracle bead in a deep color like that. So I'm kind of in love with those tiny little guys. Okay, so to get started with this, what we're going to do a little bit different. We are going to, actually, let's start with our bottom here. Let's start with these guys. So we'll just start with our simple wrapped loop on the bottom. Just add these. Not that any of this is hard. I don't know why I said that, but. So there's our little bottom section. And I'm just grabbing that wire where it is exiting. And again, we're just going to go and do a wrapped loop. Okay. Taking the wire up and over, roll the pliers, take the wire on over. And you'll notice I've sped up a little bit. I'm not going nearly as slow with our wrapped loops. I feel like you've seen them, you know. We can speed up a little bit. You can always replay and watch in slow if you need to. So we've got our wrapped loop on the bottom of that guy. Now, before I add my bead to my eye pin, I do want to open that loop on the bottom very gently. And again, that's laterally, just like with a jump ring. You don't want to open it by like pulling it apart. You just want to kind of twist it open. I'm going to go ahead and thread on the wrapped loop. And then I'm just going to twist that back to close it up. Okay. Now I'm going to thread on my check glass bead and do a wrapped loop on the top. All right. We're just going to repeat that step on the other beads so that these will match on either side. Right, there we go. And I'm going to come in and trim off. And that's going to go next to our little star. And I'm going to do the same thing with the others. So we're just going to repeat. Okay. Just going to keep going, wrapped loop here. So this afternoon, you guys, there's always something crazy going on at my house, I'm telling you. I don't know what it is, but this time of year, and those of you who live in East Tennessee with me, a lot of my local friends are here watching. You guys know that like when it gets really hot here this time of year, we get these little lizards. They're little blue-tailed lizards, and they really like to spend time on porches, back porches and decks, and you know, well, this little blue-tailed lizard, I didn't see him until it was too late. I went to open the back door to let my dogs out, and the little blue lizard just scooted himself in. And they're really, really fast, you guys, like really fast. And I couldn't catch him. Like I needed to make sure that the dogs didn't see him because I didn't want them to accidentally squish him or eat him. So I made sure that they went completely out, and I shut the door. And right next to my back door, I have this like antique wash stand. It came from my grandparents, and it has a marble top on it, so it weighs a ton. And of course, this little blue-tailed lizard runs back behind it, and there's nothing I can do because I can't move the wash stand by myself, and I don't know what to do. So my daughter comes downstairs, my oldest, and she's like, what are you doing? You've got this look on your face like there's something wrong. She's like, is there a mouse? Like, no, but there is a lizard. We could not catch him. He was like super, super fast. So after about 20 minutes, I gave up and I was like, you know what? Little lizard can just hang out. Hopefully he'll come out from underneath there and and at least he's not a bug, right? I can deal with a lizard, but you know, like a big bug, that's totally different. Like I'd have torn the house down to get a bug out, but like a lizard, I'm like, okay, he can stay, and we'll just deal with him the next time we see him. And so I come back upstairs and I'm working and I hear the doorbell. I know there's a package. There's always a package. And I go downstairs and he's in the foyer and I can see him. He's like in the corner. And so I was like, oh, I run to the kitchen to grab a bowl. And of course, when I come back with the bowl, because that's what I was going to catch him in, he was gone. So I don't know where the lizard is, but I got to tell you, I heard my 10-year-old screeching just a little while ago. And of course, I'm doing Facebook Live, so I can't really save her from the lizard, but I assume that they found the lizard downstairs. So I assume that at some point this evening when I go back downstairs, I'm going to hear what the screeching was and where the lizard is. So, but yeah, I was just, you know, he may nibble on your toes. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was like, I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and this lizard's going to be in my room. It's like every critter, creepy crawly that comes in our house, it ends up in her room for some reason. I don't know why. All right, so these are our next little beads. And I'm going to put those on the outer side. I'm actually going to go ahead and lay out what we have left just so that you guys know, okay? So those are going to be next. The next beads in line, I'm going to use some of these cube beads because you know I can't stay away from a cube. I adore them. And I want to hang these little guys from the cubes. So these are little drop beads that are kind of similar to the larger ones that we used, but instead of the gold, these have like silver. And they're actually silver with like a black splatter instead of a black with a silver splatter. But either way. So we're going to do another little group that's got little dangles on it. And then last but not least, we're going to use these miracle beads in, again, that kind of charcoal color. And that will be the last beads on our little section here. So we've got a little bit more to go, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me and being patient. We're just practicing our wrapped loops, right? It's all good. You can never see these too many times. So let's just keep going. Okay, grabbing the wire. Maggie says the bugs or the lizards in Florida eat bugs. That's, yeah. Well, and that's part of the reason I was like, well, I'm not super worried about it. Number one, it's not a mouse. I would have worried about that. Number two, it wasn't a bug. And I know that while he is visiting the Sara Ellis, that he will eat whatever he comes across, right? So, oh, I'll keep you posted on the loose lizard. Trust me. I'll let you know what happens. It's funny because that's not actually the first time that has happened. When we very first moved into this house, my kids were a bit younger. My oldest would die if he knew I was telling you this story, but it was a hot summer day and I had the back door open and in comes one of those little lizards. And he just kind of saw it out of the corner of his eye and he panicked and jumped up on a chair and he was like, Mom, there's a baby alligator in the house. He like literally thought it was a baby alligator. I'm like, dude, we don't even have alligators. We're in Tennessee. We don't have, but he was terrified. It was so funny. So this is not our first lizard encounter. All right, there are the wrapped loops on those guys. I'm going to go ahead and attach them. So I'm just going to kind of move these guys out of the way. And open our jump ring. The dogs will get him. I know. I'm worried about that, but at the same time, I know how fast he is. So I'm hoping that, like, you know, he'll stand a pretty good chance at getting away from the dogs. Now my Chihuahua, that's different because they are, you know, they're kind of bred for hunting small, fast things. So I don't know. But like I said, I heard a screech downstairs a little while ago. So I'm assuming that they found the lizard and maybe caught him. Fingers crossed. We're going to find out here in just a little bit. All right, getting close here, and you can see our little charm section is getting nice and full. Looks really cool. You don't have to do nearly as many of these, the beaded sections, if you don't want to. I just really like a full charm, whatever, whether it's a charm necklace or a charm bracelet. Sometimes Y necklaces with charms and beads hanging all over them in this kind of way looks really, really cool. And I'm always in the mindset that more is more. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. But if you don't like as many, you definitely can skip a link in between each one. And when you skip a link, that kind of takes away your problem where things kind of have to alternate between the way that your links are, right? So some are going to hang this way and some are going to hang this way. If you skip links, you definitely don't have that problem. So definitely something to consider if you just don't want to mess with having to deal with putting them exactly on the chain, you know, in the correct pattern and all of that. But I feel like charms, there needs to be plenty, right? Just my opinion. All right, so I put that one on an eye pin, and again, I'm just going to do a wrapped loop. We're getting really close to being done with the wrapped stuff here, with all our little wire working. I hope this one has been a good practice project for you guys that are still working on your wrapped loops. You can never practice them too many times. Who is being quiet, Jane? Who are you talking to? I have to know. I'm so nosy. I'm so nosy. Oh, she was replying to Wanda. Wanda is being quiet. Oh gosh. Steph says she grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and they had big flying bugs. Yeah, see, I don't do bugs. Nope, and nope. Bugs are a big old no for me. Just not a creepy crawly kind of person. I don't mind spiders with big fat bodies. Is that weird? Like, the bigger a spider is, the less scary it is to me. But the ones with like the spindly legs and like the just tiny little thin bodies, oh yeah, no, nope. But I feel like the bigger the body, the less creepy. But yeah, I still don't like them. I'm still not a fan. The flying bugs, I can remember when I was a kid, I had cousins that lived in New Orleans, and they had big palmetto bugs, and they would sit out on the steps with tennis rackets and would hit the palmetto bugs with the tennis rackets, and they made the most horrible noise ever. But that was like their summertime tradition. Like, that's so gross. All right, another wrapped loop, and that one you can see has got its little dangle here. Fern says, AKA roaches. Yeah, they definitely are a roach. I don't care what anybody says. Don't like it no matter what it is. All right. So this is our last bead on either side. I haven't attached these yet. I will here in just a second. Just going to get this last little wire wrapped loops out of the way here. Uh-oh, wrong pliers. Okay. And wrapping around. I'm going to trim off. Who was that? Hold on. I gotta... Becky says they had a cricket in their bathroom one time. It was so loud. When I was a teenager, a lot of the houses like during that time period. They were like 80s, 90s houses, had finished basements, you know, but it was like a split foyer, and you would go downstairs, and the bottom floor was really a basement that they just finished part of it off. And I had this friend and we would go downstairs at night I can remember the first time I spent the night at her house. We went downstairs to watch movies, and we were sitting on the couch, and it was dark. And then I was like, okay, well, I have to get up to go to the bathroom. Let's get a snack. And when we got up and turned the lights on, we looked over at the back of the couch. There were like 100, like, that's not an exaggeration. There was probably more than that. There were like 100 of those camel crickets, you know, the big ones. I was terrified, and they jump really high. Like, they can jump like 3 feet in the air. And she was like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. And I was like, oh my gosh, just like going through a landmine to go to the steps to get upstairs. It was awful. Like, I got chill bumps just thinking about it. Those big, huge camel crickets. And they just kind of snuck in while we were sitting there watching a movie in the dark. Oh, no thank you. But a lot of those houses where they were split foyer, that bottom level a lot of times was under, you know, part of the ground. So Catherine says, hi, sorry I'm late. Catherine, you might not be so sorry, because we've been talking about bugs, and I don't know. I don't know how sorry you are going to find yourself, right? You'd be like, gosh, I'm glad I'm late. I'm talking about creepy crawlies. All right, so I've got one left. We'll flip this little guy over. I've got one left, whoops, on each end, okay? So I ended up with 2 extra jump rings, which is fine. Oh no, I know what those jump rings are for. Just kidding. We have to attach our little chain section to our other piece of chain, right? All right, so there's that one, and we've got one more to go over here on the other end. Yeah, they do jump on you. If you're really still, they do. They don't care if you're there or not. So yeah, there's no way I would have slept downstairs. Nope. 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 I'd have called my mom. You're going to have to come and get me. I can't stay here. The camel crickets are going to get me. All right, so we filled up our entire little section here. Oh my gosh, Kathy says tree frogs in Louisiana sat on the top of the screen door, dropped on my face every time. Ew! I don't mind frogs nearly as bad, but I don't want them dropping down on my head or my face. Just saying, just saying. They need to stay away. Keep themselves socially distanced. Okay, so now we're ready to attach our little section of charms to our chain here, and all we got to do is just attach our little jump rings to each one of those links. I've already attached our clasp and our jump rings to the back of this, so we are almost done. I'm going to turn this around and put this little necklace on a bust so that you can check it out. We'll do a little more chit chat, and then we will go for the day, and I will let you guys get back to your Monday night. And I am going to go find out about the lizard. I have a feeling that if they didn't catch the lizard, my 10-year-old may not sleep in the house tonight. She may be calling her grandparents. Please come get me. All right, so there we go. Okay, let me put this on a bust because it does look sort of like a hot mess laying here, but I think you'll see that it hangs really, really cool. So let me get this attached here. I'm gonna have to shorten this up just a little bit. Excuse my hand, you guys. All right, now I'm gonna turn you guys around. Well, it would help if you could like see me. You guys have seen that whiteboard like I don't know how many times. It hasn't changed. It still has our schedule from summer camp on it. I need to wipe that off. It's funny. All right, so here is our necklace, right, with all of its cool charms on it, right? Maybe the mixtape is not your cup of tea. That's okay, right? Use whatever beads you want to use. Any of your Jesse James beads are going to look really awesome on this guy. you know, make as many bead dangles as you want to. You could even hang long pieces of chain from this and get like extra kind of cha-cha feel into it. If you didn't want to use chain for the length portion of the necklace, you could definitely use, like I said at the beginning, you could use fairy silk for that. You could use cord for that. You could use a different color chain, or you could do the same chain all the way around and just keep your charms here in the middle if you want to. There's a lot of different options when it comes to this. And of course, you can always just turn it into a bracelet. If you don't want to do a charm necklace, you can do a charm bracelet. I really like charm necklaces because I feel like other people get to see what you've got, right? I mean, part of the cool thing about charms and charm necklaces and specialty beads like these is that you want to show them off, right? And if they're on your wrist, maybe they don't get seen. But if you've got this really cool mixtape bead, or you've got these really beautiful little check glass stars, or these awesome, you know, miracle bead drops, somebody is more inclined to see them if they're on your necklace and come and look, and then look at all the other beads and they go, oh, those are awesome. Where did you get those? And you're like, oh, I made it myself and I got the beads from Jessie James Beads. I mean, come on, it just keeps getting better. So there you go. I hope you guys have enjoyed this project. I thought it was a fun one. It was super easy, but a great way to really kind of talk through how to put different links on, you know, different charms onto chain, because sometimes that can be frustrating. I definitely recommend laying it down like we did, just because it just is easier to see the direction of all of those links. You got good practice on your wrapped loops, and we had a little chat about lizards and bugs, and it was fun. I had a good time tonight. I hope you guys had fun as well. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. You guys can catch me again. You can see me, let's see, on Wednesday at 1 p.m. on Dress It Up. And I will have a craft project using some really cool Dress It Up buttons for you guys. We are actually making, we're using headbands to make buttons where you can attach your mask loops to them so that you don't have to get raw around your ear, which is really cool. So we're going to sew some buttons. I will show my necklace. And we are going to have another project on Thursday at 11 a.m. as usual. So you guys are just getting the beginning of me for this week. You will see me several more times. Oh gosh. To remind myself to breathe. So this was my necklace, you guys. This was one of the strands from our summer camp, right? Remember the bead strands from our summer camp? So it's just a regular, not regular, none of them are regular, but it is a Jessie James bead strand that I didn't change. That's what I mean in regular. Like, I left it exactly like it was. I just restrung it onto some bead stringing wire, and then I used some chain reaction as the link. That's my favorite thing to do with my Jessie James bead strands. It's so much nicer than having to cut the strand. It breaks my heart when I have to cut apart that beautiful design. So I like to wear them just like that. I got a lot of necklaces this way. All right, guys, have a great rest of the night. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and I will see some of you on Wednesday. If not, I will see you on Thursday at 11 a.m. with another fun project. Bye, guys.